Okay, we are live. Hello, beautiful, wonderful, amazing humans. It is so good to be here again. This is episode 25 of the ADHD Roundtable, and I am um, very excited about it because it is a big deal, and I get to acknowledge that it's a big deal. If you are new to the roundtable, been roundtable discussion about ADHD to bring normalcy to neurodiversity while engaging in deep conversations and having fun. And I've been doing this for a couple years, and I just added up how many guests I've had on over the couple years. And with the beautiful friends who are here today, it is up to a total of 68 different guests. There are a few
Woo.
that came on multiple times. Um, so thanks for celebrating with me. Okay. So to you, my friends, one of my favorite questions to ask, and I usually open with this, is what is your current favorite thing about your flavor of ADHD? So something that's current that you love about your flavor of ADHD. Who wants to go first?
I love the creativity.
Mm.
I the creativity and the speed of thought. That's two things, but I'm not going to follow the rules, Jess. So there we
Oh,
go.
great.
Yeah, yeah. That's my favorite thing about it. It's just feeling like I think quickly, I decide quickly, and as an adult now, that generally serves me well. It didn't always serve me well when I was a little kid, but it does now. And the feeling like the creativity flows pretty easily. I love that.
Amazing.
I'd say the radar for other people with ADHD, recognizing each other and never being bored.
Mm.
That's a good one. Yeah, I think initially when you asked the question, I thought like I can hold many things at once, like many conversations. I can do many tasks. They might not all get done, but I can sure work on a lot of things at once.
Mm.
And so like there's constant variety. Maybe that's what it sums up to.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Um, for those of you here and those of you watching, you may or may not know this about me, but I'm an ADHD coach who does not have ADHD. But I have my favorite things about ADHDers, and it changes. And so I'm like, what is my favorite thing today? Um, oh, okay. One of my favorite things about ADHDers is this is gonna sound so weird, but the how receptive ADHDers can be on their like self-reflection. That can be to your detriment, but off like when used in a way that's really good, it's beautiful to witness like, oh, I'm going to take in this new information and then I'm probably going to do something different as a result of this new information. And being receptive to that is it's really fun to witness in ADHDers. Okay, what something that was really challenging for you because of your ADHD that you have figured out a system for or something that has like really supported you and your ADHD brain?
I don't know how much of a system I've come up with, but for me, the biggest issue has been my lifelong fatigue and burnout. And for many years, I thought I had found strategies, but they ended up burning me out even more.
Mhm.
So I'm revisiting all of that and just kind of looking at how I spend my time. And so I think the biggest thing for me was like awareness of my energy, not on forcing myself to like, I know I could eat better, I know I could exercise better, I know I could do all these things, but my executive functioning doesn't let me do all of those things if I don't have the energy. So it's like this loop. And so it was actually years ago I read a book called Breaking Free from Persistent Fatigue, and she looks at it's an OT actually, and she looks at it from a different standpoint. And it's like the 5 areas of energy balance, and it's the same, like there's a book called Self-Reg that also looks at those same areas. And so it's like physical, mental, social, I forget the other two off the top of my head, but looking at those areas and like trying to do more of the things that are energizing and less of the things that are draining, then I have more energy to do the things I know I should do.
Mm. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I think that helped me think of mine too, was kind of when I started exploring a diagnosis, I was able to give myself permission that, like, you know what, sometimes you're just messy and like you're not going to have the dishes done all the time. You just don't live that life, and that's okay. And I remember like the first time I gave myself that permission and like looking at the dishes full of the sink full of dishes, and like most of the time I would be like filled with guilt and shame and like, can't you get your life together? But after that thought I was like, oh, I'm just kind of messy and it's not a big deal. And like if somebody was coming over I would do the dishes, but nobody's coming over, so nobody's going to know, so who cares? And then I could just relax.
Yes.
That's amazing. I love that. That is makes me think of something I will share, and then I'll answer the question. So I'm a parent, and when my kids were little, I dealt with a lot of guilt and shame around being. It worked out for us at that season that it was cheaper for me to stay home and be a full-time parent than it was for me to work, as happens for lots of parents. And so I was filled with a lot of guilt and shame over being a bad stay-at-home mom. I mean, who like that's a soul-eating label to give yourself, right? I'm a bad stay-at-home mom. And then at one point I realized, wait just a minute. I'm not a bad stay-at-home mom. I'm an amazing mom who's a bad housekeeper, and I can totally live with that.
Oh, that's
That's
amazing.
a
It's
great reframe.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because, I mean, you want to go out on an adventure every day of the week? I'm there for it. You want to go pick up frogs and snakes? I'm all over it. You want me to get the laundry put away in a prompt fashion? That's probably not going to happen. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's not a bad person. Now, if I was like, I'm a bad mom, okay, well, that's going to make me feel bad about myself. But I wasn't. I was a good mom. I was just a bad housekeeper. Who cares? Just like
No,
Kaylin said, who
love
cares?
it. Love it.
Yeah. I think the system, if I've figured it out, and it's a continuous tweaking, is particularly in a group situation, in a leadership situation, I have to know what my skill set is and what my skill set is not. And so making sure that I'm paired with an implementer, making sure that I surround myself with people who can follow up on the details while I cast a vision, while I motivate, while I inspire, that's going to be a recipe for success. And putting me in a position where I'm expected to do the details, I am plenty old enough now to realize that's going to be bad for everybody.
Oh,
Amazing.
genius. Yeah. Love it.
All right, like the self-awareness and the grace. Like, yes. Know thyself. I say that often. And I often talk about too is like ADHDers tend to be really hard on themselves because of lots of reasons. And I like look at you all and be like, you're not the exception. You're not that special. Like, you don't get to be mean to my friend. Like, be kind to my dear friend, please. Just like you would never be that mean to anyone else in your world. You don't get to do that to yourself. So it sounds like you have all figured out parts of that. And that's really beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so good.
Thanks.
Um, okay. So what would you say is something that's like challenging lately? Like ADHD. Oh, this is so challenging right now.
Like
sleep.
starting tasks for me, like in my business. Like I have so many things I want to do, and they're all great ideas. Like, which one do I do? Which is the most important? Which is actually exciting, and that changes from moment to moment to moment. So I'm like, this thing, that thing, this thing, that thing. My husband's like, can you pick one thing? Can you just do one? Not really. I'm trying.
Yeah, often the first 10% and the last 10% tend to be the hardest for ADHDers.
Yeah.
And so, Tara, you were talking about making sure you're in a space with implementers when you're in a group setting so that you'll get the ball rolling. That's great. That's so great. And then finding, yeah. Generally speaking, I learned this in my coaching with my coaching certification through the Hendricks Institute. There's like, the story arc, there's the beginning, middle, and the end. And they talk about how in all parts of a life, people are like tend to be good at one of those and really bad at one of them and maybe okay at one of them. And so knowing yourself of like, okay, beginning, middle, end. For me, I'm really great at starting stuff, which makes me a great ADHD coach, right? Like really good at helping other people get started. I can get started. The middle is probably my least, I'm getting better at it. And then the ending is I'm okay at. But so finding other people in my world that can help me with the middle and the end is what I do. Um, so, but yeah, anyways, sometimes you don't have other people to help you get started, but knowing myself can help you with the parts that you're not good at.
For me, it's definitely been sleep. And I mean, it's a combination of factors, but like, I don't know how much is, the post-pandemic burnout, um, perimenopause, very energy draining relationship that I got out of, all of these factors that contributed to challenges with sleep now. And even in my summer, I'm a school psychologist, so even in my summer, I was not getting decent sleep. Like I was waking up too early. And even though I still am waking up too early, I'm still can't fall back asleep. But now I'm back to work full time. So I'm in school full time after like 10 years of be trying to be an entrepreneur and realizing I finally realized I'm the kind of ADHD that needs a boss. Like I not to be productive, not to be creative, not to get lots of amazing things done, but to actually make money. Because I don't want to do any of the things that actually make me money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. The thing that has been the most challenging for me recently is I am an entrepreneur and I'm an entrepreneur alone. And so everything I just said about figuring out how in a group situation I need to surround myself with implementers, I ain't got any at home in my own business. And so I do have a business coach, and we were just talking about that a couple weeks ago. Like I'm a speaker and an author, and honestly, I'm really good at what I do, but you can't do that if you don't market yourself. And we were exploring, well, what's hard about that for you? Why is that so difficult, Tara? Why? And I'm like, it's boring. It's tedious. It's everything my brain resists. I don't want to do it. And it has been an ongoing process of trying to figure out, how do I gamify this for myself? How do I make it interesting? How do I make it something I will actually sit my butt down and do? And one of the things that you're supposed to do is track all of this outreach that you do. And I've called this person once, and now I sent them an email, and then I've sent them a postcard, and you have to track all of that. So you have to build a spreadsheet. Well, spreadsheets make me break out in a rash. Like, no, thank you. And so I'm just not doing any of it. And as a consequence, things are a little slow right now. And my coach said, well, then don't track. And I was like, no, I have to. All of the people say you have to. It is you're supposed to. And so I was getting stuck in this perfectionistic, well, if I can't do it the right way, I'm just not going to do it, which, hi, that's a little bit self-defeating. And so she was like, stop, don't, just do it. Just don't track it. I'm like, but that's chaos. That's against the, okay, I'll try that. So that's the current, That's the current thought, is I'm going to attempt
Uh,
chaos and hope that chaos is better than nothing.
yeah.
That chaos actually winds up accomplishing something. And probably, I'm guessing that I will at least take minimal notes that I can go back to, and then I'll probably feel like, well, I could put that in it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But that has been the most difficult thing for me lately, is not wanting to do the one core activity of my business that will help me make money. So I get you, Aurora. Yeah.
I want to ask, like, who these people saying the way that you're supposed to do it, are they neurotypical people? And that's
Oh,
why they do
100%.
that?
They're either
Yeah.
neurotypical people, or they're people who have gotten far enough in their business to hire people to do that stuff.
So let's get you just
Which-
making a bunch of money, and then you can
This
delegate
is
all
the
this out.
goal. Yes. This
So
is the
embrace
goal.
the chaos.
Yes. Maybe I need that t-shirt. Embrace the chaos.
Yeah, it's good.
One of my colleagues, eventually she and I are going to do a workshop called Sacred Chaos.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah.
It's a
But
great title.
embracing chaos is so, like, in some regards, that's what ADHD is. And so if you don't embrace it, you're basically like neglecting an aspect of who you are. And when we do that, we're like ostracizing our own selves when we like neglect a part of who we are by not accepting it. And so learning to love and cherish, like, oh my gosh, this is part of who I am. And how do I work in a way that like honors that aspect of me? So fuck it. You don't have to do it the way everyone else does it. And a lot of what I do is like teaching folks how to trust themselves. So over time, what will probably happen is like you'll reach out to this person, and then 6 months later, you'll be like, I haven't heard from that person, and you'll reach out again. Or like they'll pop into your head when it's supposed to happen,
I
not when you.
hope so. I hope so. My fear is I will completely forget they ever existed and never return to them. So I got to figure out some in between land between scrupulous spreadsheet land and total chaos.
I think just lean into the chaos for now.
Yeah, start like a super simple list, and just like when you're reaching out to people, add that person to the list and add that person.
I actually started a note in my Evernote app that said, marketing I have actually done today, just to give myself a little like dopamine. Yay, me. I did this.
Yeah.
Smart.
I want to touch a little bit more on something Aurora was talking about with um perimenopause, and since there's a do all of you identify as women?
Yes.
Okay. So for folks who are watching who are also women, and if you don't know this already, when you go through perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, whatever, there's the three, your estrogen levels go down. And estrogen is the hormone that helps with executive functioning, which ADHDers struggle with already. And so when a lot of women will go through this like being fine with ADHD because they have higher estrogen levels, and then all of a sudden hit a fucking brick wall in their 40s or 50s because all of a sudden their estrogen levels have gone down, and they're like, what is wrong with me? And that's where a lot of women get diagnosed with ADHD, or are still trying to figure out. So if you're one of those people, know that you are not alone. Know that this is, I want to say it's normal, but it's not. Like you get to have some help. You don't have to do it by yourself. There are things to support you with it. Talk to a doctor, talk to an ADHD coach, talk to other women who are going through similar things, but know that that is a thing. So but also if you're not in perimenopause, our menstrual cycles also wreak havoc on all of that stuff. So as women, where have you seen the hormone shifts in your world affect your ADHD?
Oof. Oof.
You want to expand on the oof?
Yeah, I suppose I will. I mean, I could leave it at that. I feel like so many people just understand the oof. So I got my tubes tied last year. So I hadn't had a cycle in like 15 years. And the doctors were like, you're still having your cycle, you're still going through like the changes that would happen. But like in my mind, I was like, I'm not having the full experience though. So I'm like a little bit nervous about like going, just diving right back into having a cycle. And they were like, there's nothing to worry about. There was something to worry about. There was something to worry about. So like the last year, I think I'm finally like kind of stabilizing, but the last year has been like the most emotionally turbulent of my life. And just noticing, like really noticing the changes in like my energy levels, my mood, my ability to function, my need for sleep, like my need for sleep like almost triples. Like 14 hours isn't enough. And that felt crazy in the beginning. And then I started like doing some research and like there's not many studies because it's women's health, but there have been a few studies about the effects of coming off of any hormonal birth control and how it will greatly increase your cycling, like the effects of it that you feel. And so it was validating, again, kind of like getting the diagnosis where like I'm not crazy and this is something that will happen. And kind of like just what you were saying too. It's like you're not alone. This isn't normal, but it's kind of normal. And so just like ride the wave and try to like track your cycle, which I can't track anything very well. So I tried that. I got an app. You have to remember to put it in there. So I'm just like trying to lightly pay attention. And it helps that my husband's kind of like, hey, I'm noticing this cycle's happening. And like, oh, okay, good. Somebody's paying attention. So yeah, there's definitely a change with your cycle. And it's super fun and I love it. I'm so excited.
May I ask a medical-ish question about getting your tubes tied?
Yeah.
I know that's different from a hysterectomy, so that doesn't put you into early menopause, does it?
I mean, have they studied that? I don't know. Not as far as I'm aware,
Okay.
not that I've seen in the reading that I've done, no.
No, it's just
That
that
was
you
a
came
huge
off of
fear.
birth control once you got it done, and that
Hmm.
was the change. Yeah.
Hmm. And I'd been on birth control since I was like 13, so
Mm,
like 25 years. And so
wow.
then to come off of that and like, yeah, I hadn't had a cycle in so long and it's been a trip, I'll tell you what.
Mm. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
I definitely have experienced all of the fun of perimenopause and menopause. Like so many things that are not relevant to this podcast, but there's just so much we are not told about what our bodies are going to go through. I definitely experienced an increase in anxiety, um, brain fog, 100%. Now, the fun of piecing all of that out is that you're going through that when if you're a parent, your kids are also probably going through adolescence and late teen years and having all kinds of fun things happening to them. And so then are you worried because your brain is off, or are you worried because legitimately your kids are doing stuff that's making you worried as a parent? So it's really hard to trace all that out. Same with sleep, same with, I mean, it just I this is an ADHD podcast, so I won't go into it, but so many things I would just say to get educated women and demand help and go see a doctor, and do not think you are alone and crazy, because it is a lot and it's definitely impacted my ADHD.
Yeah. And if your doctor isn't listening to you, go find another one. And if you're still struggling, find a Facebook group of women in your community and ask what's a good doctor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My GP was not listening. She was not listening. Uncool.
Mm.
And I went on Facebook and asked my Facebook friends, like, I mean, this is one of the few remaining things that Facebook still excels at, right? Um, who's got an amazing doctor for this? And thankfully got a fantastic recommendation. It's made all the difference. Yeah.
Yay. How about for you, Aurora, if you want to share?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't it's hard for me to tell how much was pandemic, how much was, a very toxic end of a relationship. Well, they had mental health stuff, but how much, my teen's about to graduate, like all of that stuff, getting my kid full time when they turn 13. So like a whole bunch of stuff happened at once. And so it's hard for me to tease out how much is perimenopause. I'm turning 50 next week, by the way, so less than a
Happy
week to my
birthday.
birthday.
Woo!
So I mean, I'm sure that is a factor, absolutely. And I'm sure that especially when it comes to the sleep, but it's also why I didn't stay on ADHD meds because I was having sleep issues and it happened around the same time. And I was also during the pandemic. And so like one of them made my heart rate and it felt like when I got COVID. So like there's just there were a lot of factors that happened at once, so it's hard for me to tell. I do know in my adolescence that like that first year I was crying every day after school, and starting eighth grade, I burnt out like every year at in the spring. Like I had a major burnout. So it's one of the reasons why, having my summers off is so great. But then when I tried to be an entrepreneur, I then wasn't really getting my full summers off because, yeah, I didn't have to get up for schoolwork 3 days a week. But then I felt like I had to be productive on something constantly. Whereas now I'm actually embracing just being a school psychologist as my income. And I'm actually doing a lot of creative stuff and getting inspired because it's not my livelihood. Um, so yeah, that burnout started when hit puberty and it's been pretty much ever since. And then it hit so bad that it was years long, the last one. So I'm actually doing better now than I was a couple years ago. So, and I haven't really actively pursued medical treatment for that part, because I just have never had good luck with Western medicine. So, I have a cortisol manager from the acupuncturist, and that's about it.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's often hard to like differentiate between all of the chaos that is happening, right? Like whatever is going on in your world, there's always multiple things to go into health related. And is this ADHD? Is this trauma? Is this this? Is it that? And like, ugh. And sometimes it makes sense to figure out what the why is because then you can treat the underneath issue. Sometimes it doesn't matter and you get to let it go and figure out what works and what doesn't. Um, but anyone who's watching this, please don't do it alone. Like find somebody. You don't have to do this stuff by yourself. There are wonderful, amazing, beautiful humans out there who would be willing to have a conversation. So reach out. Okay. So tell us who you are and what you do and shameless plug something. Who wants to go first?
I guess I can. I'm Aurora. Aurora, remember. And yes, remember is my middle name, but it will soon be my last. Um,
Cool.
and it was my given name. But I'm the host of the Embracing Intensity podcast, which has been going on for 9 years, which is pretty awesome. And as I said, I'm back as full time as a school psychologist now, but I have a community, so I have guest calls, and I've gotten down to once a month podcasts. I was weekly for like 5 years straight, so I have a lot of episodes. And then I guess my two big projects right now are one, I'm trying to get my garage chaos. I was inspired to get it ready for a workshop space. So I'm gonna have a New Year's workshop in the Portland area, and do creative stuff. So set up my I don't know, I just did a thumbs up. I have like crafty stuff and all that fun things. Because we used to be out on acreage, and I always wanted to do retreats and stuff, but we couldn't maintain the property. So now I'm getting inspired again now that I'm working full time. And then the other thing is I just had these workbooks from my I had a course I did like 10 years ago, and I released the energy balance one last Christmas, and my friend had finished all the edits for me like months ago. And I just got this one, self-care, out, and I'm working on the Kindle right now. And then by Thanksgiving, I'm hoping to get the empowerment one out.
Cool.
It's just a
Wow.
draft. But
What, what's in the workbook? Tell us a little bit more.
so they came from my original course that I did for my coaching, which was called Ignite Your Power. And it's basically, it was focused on the concept of intensity, or excitability, which is like something that you find both in giftedness and other neurodivergence. And so it started with like looking at your areas of intensity and balance and how to like harness them in a positive way. And then so the course is kind of focused around self-regulation and energy management and speaking up and self-care. And so each lesson of it was 12 lessons. And in 2020 well, it started before the pandemic, but in 2020, I redid each one. So the workbook was like a 20-page workbook, 25-page workbook. So it was too short to make into print. So I combined 4 in each workbook. So there's 4 guides in each one. So
Wow.
That's so cool.
yeah. So
I will
kind
make
of 10 years worth of revisions.
That's really cool. Congratulations.
Thanks. And I have a friend she's my finisher, but then I had to like finish. But she's been through every iteration of my program, so she was the perfect person to have help me with it, because she knew, like, she's been through it every group program I had. So
That's so cool.
Amazing.
yeah.
So if somebody wanted to buy, go to your website, or where would you go?
Yeah, well, right now I have to put the link on my website, but I have an author page on Amazon now, so
Okay,
it's
great.
like Aurora Remember author / Aurora Remember or something like that. I'll put a link, but and it's in my stories on Instagram in my highlights, so
Awesome.
it's
So
where.
cool. Thanks for sharing. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Tara, you want to go next?
Sure. So I mentioned I'm a professional speaker and an author. I speak about mental health. I got into that by parenting foster kids and one of my own kids who have serious mental health issues, and took that journey and that story into helping both. My business has a dual focus. One is parent communities, and one is corporate and association audiences. So for corporate and associations, I talk about mental health, I talk about culture, I help managers create teams that can thrive when life gets hard, because life gets hard, and help them know how to deal with mental health issues in their team as a whole, individuals in their team that are struggling with mental health. What do I do? So that is part. And then the other part is for parent communities. I've run conferences for parents called Parents and Mental Health for several years, and also just came out with a book in March that is a book that did not really exist anywhere. I have a copy right here. It is backwards, called What to Do Right Now When Your Child is Suicidal. And that's a journey that we've walked through with both my nieces who were in our home as foster kids and with one of my own kids. And that's a moment that is not in the baby books. There's no chapter in what to expect when you're expecting when your child is facing suicidal thinking. And so that book is available in all of the book places, all of the places you might think to find a book. And people can find me on my website, which is my name, tararolstead.com.
That is amazing. Thank you for creating that. I already know some people I need to send that to, so thank you.
That unfortunately is all of us right now. I think most of us
Yeah.
know somebody. There's so many kids that are struggling that my hope is as a as an author is for other people to know about the book for the moment that someone they care about is struggling, because a parent in that moment may or may not have the wherewithal to think, I should go look on Amazon and see if there's a book about this. And
Yeah.
if you're not in that moment, you don't want to read that book, probably. It's very good, but it's still not a fun read for the weekend.
It feels like a good book to like have on hand, just like a couple copies.
Yes.
For like if that
Yeah.
conversation comes up, I'm like, oh, I got the thing for you. Let me.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. So cool.
Yeah. Thank you for writing that. Wow.
Mm-hmm. All right, Kaylin.
Oh, I'm up. Okay. Yeah, so my name's Kaylin. I have two businesses. The first is called Action Jackson Promotions, and that's with my husband. We create video content for small businesses and entrepreneurs. So, website content, social media content, or commercials if you want to be on Hulu. Or someday the Super Bowl, we will be directing a Super Bowl commercial. I'm just putting that into the universe publicly so that I continue to manifest it closer. Um, yeah, and that's super fun. I love to be able to support other business owners and like doing the awesome thing that they do, but like kind of what you were talking about earlier, like feeling stuck of like how do I put it out for the world to see? Like we do our best to make it really fun and effective. So that's been a fun journey. And then additionally, I'm a professional witch, so you can hire me to read tarot cards or do spell crafting or teach you spell crafting or whatever else I decide I want to do with that as my life progresses. And that's also been really fun. And I'm a second generation witch. So I have as much as I have from my mom. She passed away a couple years ago. And then the lineages run deep, so I'm just like tapping into all of that and sharing it as much as I can. And I will be starting a podcast probably in March, delving into the history of witchcraft and how it intersects with our world and explaining all the different things that excite me. And I started a moon group. So if you're interested in tapping into the moon energies, the new moon and the full moon, we are currently virtual, so anybody can join. You can find me on Instagram at kdawl, KAYDAWL, and I will send you all the information.
Amazing. All these multi-passionate people. And I'm Jess DuBose. I'm an ADHD coach, and there's so many things. Which ones do I want to share today? One is I have a course called Rest Like a Rebel, the 7 types of rest for ADHDers who don't want to sit still. Because people suck at resting, and the only ways we talk about resting is sitting still or sleeping. But there are actually lots of different ways to rest. So it goes through and talk about the different types of rest, and there's experiments in there to try different ones. And there's, the little gremlin in our head, whether you call inner critic, inner roommate, whatever. Mine, I lovingly call her crafty bitch. So crafty bitch shows up in the Rest Like a Rebel course, to give you a message, for each of the modules too. I also have a group called Magic, which is Magnificent ADHDers Growing in Community. And that's where all of these lovely ADHDers come together, and we have an online platform for people to connect with one another. And we have right now 1 call a month. That's going to be expanding here soon. But it's a group coaching call, so folks get to witness what it's like to be ADHD with each other and know that they're not alone, and learn from each other in the coaching space. I also am starting another podcast with a friend of mine called Sacred Reveries. That's coming up soon. Basically talking about all things spiritual and like philosophical, and in a way that's different than how most people talk about it in podcasts. It's not like, yes, there's woo woo, but also like, what is the real thing that's happening while you're going through these things? And everything is nuanced. So we talk a lot about that. I feel like there was another thing I wanted to share. Oh, I also speak at conferences, and looking to do some more speaking at corporate events, teaching folks about how to work with people with ADHD or how to be an ADHD or working in a corporate environment, and learning how to help bridge those gaps so that everybody feels supported and not just having to deal with stupid rules that are not for everybody. Okay. My next question for all of you is I would love to hear a little bit about your experience in like figuring out that you had ADHD. We talk a lot about on this podcast, like getting diagnosed is a very personal decision and there is no right or wrong way to do it. And so I love asking people about their journey so anybody who's watching can understand that there are 1,000 ways to go through this process, and whether you're diagnosed or not is up to you. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
I guess I can start.
Great.
Well, so I mean, if going back, like I was really young for my grade, because in California the cutoff was December 1st, so I was November 25th. So I think a lot of my behaviors got excused for immaturity. And I was in a Spanish immersion program, so I didn't get identified for the gifted program until like 5th grade. And then at that point, I was scored so high, they were like, "Oh, you need to be in a full-time gifted program." And so for middle school, I actually had a really positive experience because it was like only a handful of us in the class. So I got lots of one-on-one attention. But by high school is when it really started to hit, because I was in a class full of overachievers and I was not. But I knew I was probably smarter than them because they weren't in that tiny little class with me. So like I had a lot of attitude problem around that. But it wasn't until college, when I dropped out, that I got tested for learning disabilities, and they're like, "Why did you even come here? You got into the school. You're obviously doing okay." And I'm like, "Obviously not," because then I dropped out, and I was sleeping in the health center. Like if I had a class before noon, I had to sleep in the health center to force myself up, or I'd miss my morning class. So right before I dropped out, and then my dad is actually the one who handed me a book, and I forget, it was one of those early ones, like Driven to Distraction, I think, maybe. And I read it and was like, "Holy shit, this is me." And so I gathered up all my paperwork and I gave them to someone, and then I never followed up on an appointment and lost all of my school paperwork. But then when I became a school psychologist, I thought, that's what I was saying before. I thought I had found all these strategies that were like working for me, but really what I was doing was pushing myself with urgency and crashing every summer and then coming back and starting fresh. And so it wasn't necessarily, I wasn't coping in a way that was sustainable long term. And so right before the pandemic, I had gotten appointment to get diagnosed, and I told them that, my original story. They're like, "I think that's diagnostic right there." But
Yeah,
yeah,
totally. That's so funny.
again, the medication thing happened all during the pandemic, so I never really, the side effects were too many compared to the benefits. So I'm still going without the medication, but I'm more paying more attention to my energy balance and things like that. So
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Aylin, you go this time.
Okay, I'll go this time. So I blame the algorithm
Yes.
because because I never really considered it. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety in my teens. And so that was just like my truth, was I have depression and anxiety. And then I had like a couple of friends that were like, "Oh, I definitely have ADHD." And my phone heard that and started feeding me ADHD content. And I was like, wow, I really relate like a lot to like basically everything. That might be, you can't just diagnose yourself. So that's not, no, I already have a diagnosis. I don't need to follow up on that. And you know, through the pandemic and then losing my mom, like the traumas that I experienced through life, like made it more apparent and worse and harder to manage. And so I was like, I obviously need some support. And I talked to my primary care doctor, and they were like, yeah, we can't help you with that. You have to go to a specialty clinic. And so I had to like change my insurance. And I'm like, you guys, I have ADHD. Like, you're giving me a task list that I cannot handle. And so it took me like a year to actually get to the clinic I needed to get to. And honestly, it's still actually in process because there was like a snafu with my insurance because the thing I did to get that clinic was the wrong thing. And so I was in and now I'm out. How very typically ADHD of me.
Yep.
So they think that my original diagnoses were a misdiagnoses. And yeah, so it's an exploration. We have tried some medications that did not go well, and I'm actually really doing well the last few months since coming off the meds that I was on. I don't know why. It seems like just the culmination of things, like when the culmination of things makes everything terrible, like I'm in this culmination where things are going pretty well right now. So I'm just enjoying the stability while I have it. And we'll see if I get back on track with the insurance snafu that is currently happening so that I can get the proper diagnoses and try maybe different meds. I don't know if I want meds, to be honest. You know, I just didn't really have. We tried like 3 or 4 different combinations, and it was like terrible. And I'm like doing so well right now that I'm like, if I can ride this, if I can be this okay, which I know it's like ebb and flow, and then hit menopause and everything changes. So we'll just see. You know, I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, my mom warned me a long time ago. She's like, "Girl, watch out." So I'm prepared. As
Good.
prepared as one can be.
That I did want to note on the medication thing too, because I tried depression meds twice for short periods of time, and they definitely made my motivation just like totally gone.
Yeah, it was crazy. They're like, wow, you're not seeing any improvement. Well, and that was kind of the conversation with my primary care physician too, was like, we tried these depression meds. And I was like, no, I'm definitely worse. Like, this is worse. And so they're like, try this other one. And I'm like, wow, this is even worse than that. And they were like, there's something going on here. And I was like, well, I have been watching these reels, and I know that doesn't sound very scientific, but maybe we should explore this path. So yeah, that's a thing to watch out for sure.
Yeah. A lot of women are misdiagnosed with depression, anxiety, bipolar instead of ADHD. Yeah.
So fun for
And
us.
a
It'd
lot
be
of
nice.
people who go many years with undiagnosed ADHD wind up with depression and anxiety legitimately as a consequence of that. I mean, it's why it's so important to get kids diagnosed as soon as you can, because there's such an overlap between all of them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Tara, tell us about your story.
So I have not been formally diagnosed, but I'm pretty confident in in self-diagnosis. I don't think there's, if I thought I could take medication, I would, but I also have high blood pressure. So that's generally contraindicated for most ADHD meds, so I haven't explored it and have been figuring out all of the other super fun things that have come with this season of life. But I grew up with a younger brother who had, and this was in the 70s and 80s, and a very classic hyperactive version ADHD. And so he was always in trouble, always doing impulsive things that were not well thought out, and I was the achiever. I was the good kid. I was probably a pain in the ass as a big sister, no question. Good grades, you know, nobody had a second thought about whether or not I was struggling with something, and I did neither. I was doing okay. I was doing well. But now looking back, it's interesting. Just the other day, I was reading an article about ADHD because I do a lot of education on this for myself and for the work that I do, and was reading another article that broke out the different kinds of ADHD and the 2 primary types. There's inattentive and in the more hyperactive version. And I thought, well, I don't have the inattentive version. Wait a minute. So that means I probably, oh, yes. I remember all of the times that my mother said, you know, if you would just think before you spoke, Tara, if you would just think before you speak. So I actually probably do have that version of ADHD. And it just, I think I self-developed coping skills that worked most of the time. I was always seen as a dingbat, right? I could not track deadlines to save my life. And here is a very true story about today, which I think may have been the final nail in the coffin, convincing my therapist that I do, in fact, have ADHD. Because when I've shared that statement about myself with her in the past, she's been, "Are you sure? I don't know." And she's very questioning of internet diagnosing for sure. So she's like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "No, seriously, like, let me tell you all the reasons that is true for me." But today I had therapy theoretically at 3:30. And I told her a week ago, I have some sort of webinar that I've signed up for called ADHD Roundtable. I don't really know what that is, but if I don't find out what it is, and I don't remember what it is, I'll be here for therapy, because Jess's amazing, thorough communications didn't start till just after that appointment a week ago. And so when I realized, oh, dummy, you've signed up to be a guest on a podcast that's called ADHD Roundtable. So I texted my therapist and I said, "Hey, remember that webinar that I was going to watch? No, that's actually, I need to be there for that. So there will be no therapy this week." And I said, "It is entirely appropriate for you to now make fun of me for the overlap between the ADHD and the topic and the calendar snafu." So yeah, I'm totally self-diagnosed, but I feel pretty confident it's accurate. I have 2 kids and a husband that probably all have ADHD. One kid is formally diagnosed. One never got diagnosed, but made it through 3.5 years of college before they finally said, "Dude, you can't get 4 A's and an F every semester. We need you to take a little breaky break from the college." So that's his situation, and he's going to figure that out for himself in his own time. My daughter lives with ADHD and anxiety and depression, and she's also on the spectrum, all of which there's a lot more overlap than I think we ever used to believe that there was. And so, in the process of learning more about all of them, is when I kind of was like, oh, yeah, that's definitely me too.
I am finding myself very emotional today listening to your guys' stories. These are stories I hear all the time. I've talked to probably thousands of ADHDers at this point, and each of your stories, while different, I've heard an iteration of that many times before today. So again, those of you who are watching know that you are not alone, and you're not crazy, and you're not broken, and there's nothing wrong with you. And also, I'm just so angry about the way that some of our systems are and the ways that we have shamed and made ADHDers small, because they are some of my favorite people in the world. And I'm just feeling a very fierce, like, angst and frustration and sadness for the ways that you all had to grow up with shitty things that happened because your brain works different than other people's. And it's beautiful. And I love it so much. And also, being called a dingbat and internalizing that your whole life sucks. So, anyways, I love you and thank you for being here and sharing all of your stories with us and whoever ends up hearing about it today or in the future.
And I say this to parents about parenting all the time. My mom was the one who primarily said that to me, and she said it with absolute love and affection. Absolute love. There was nothing unkind about it, except maybe if I lost something again, maybe there's a little frustration there.
Yeah.
But this is also a woman who I realized in her later years, oh, there's a reason that she's never had a phone call without a notepad and doodling, ever. There's a reason why I can't have a conversation with her without her getting distracted, leaving the room, coming back in, like, "Oh, mom, okay." And she didn't know. We had that conversation, but I mean, she was in her 70s by that point. She's like, "Yeah, you're probably right." but certainly her generation, that wasn't the thing. It's certainly not women, but even really anybody at that point. So
Yeah.
we all do the best we can with what we have, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. If you were in a room with somebody who was just learning about the fact that they have ADHD, what is some advice or encouragement that you would share with them?
I would say it's okay to be a mess, like in all the ways. It's okay. It's not that big of a deal. You can clean it up, or you can shove it in a closet, or like you cannot deal with it. And like you're still a perfectly valuable, worthy, beautiful human, and you deserve all of the joy and happiness this world has to offer. And like being different in your mind doesn't take away from that at all.
Yeah.
I would say that there are certainly good things about living with a neurodivergent brain. But also, there's a little bit of a trend to say it's a superpower, it's to cast as an all good thing. And that I think really minimizes the experience of a lot of us who have legitimate struggles. And so, yeah, there are things that I love about my brain, but I also hate the fact that had Jess not been an amazing communicator, I would have missed this podcast conversation because I don't remember to take notes about things I put in my calendar because I miss deadlines because and I cope pretty well with my ADHD, but my daughter really struggles. And give yourself the grace and the kindness of calling it for what it is, which is sometimes it's hard to have this brain in this world, in the systems that we have.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I would say there's no one way to do things. There's no one right way. And if we get stuck on a right way, then we might not do it at all. So like your story, Tara, about the spreadsheets, like if we can find a way that works for us, um, there is no wrong way. It's, if it works for you, it works for you.
My kitty cat decided to join us. That's Augie. Um, oh man. Yes. Yes. All of those things I reiterate, um and you're not broken. You're just like, it is challenging and it's difficult. And there's also things that your brain can do that other people's can't. And it never ceases to amaze me. I am a person that does not have ADHD, and I often call my ADHD friends for support because they can do things with their brain in 30 seconds that would take me 3 months to do. So, celebrate that. Both and. Um, Thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate you being here and celebrating the 25th episode of the ADHD Roundtable. For those of you who are watching live or the replay, thank you for being here. Let us know what you thought in the chat. I will make sure that the links are below. So if somebody resonated with you and you want to connect or purchase a book or a workbook or need video support or whatever it is, want a tarot reading, make sure you connect below. Like and subscribe. I never remember to say that, but you get to like and subscribe if this is something that you want to keep showing up in your space. And we'll see you on the next roundtable.